My name is Teacher Shalin. Okay, I've been teaching math for about 10 years. Okay, so I specialize in upper primary math. So these are just some pictures that I've taken with my students lah. The one at the back, they just graduated like this today. Some of them was their last lesson today because P6, right? Yeah. So I strongly believe that every student is unique. So I always share with the students that I believe everybody has their own gifts. You just have to go and find out what your gifts are. Sometimes some of them will say, I do not know what I'm good at. Okay, you take time lah. When I was a little kid, I didn't know what I was good at as well. Okay, so some of you, you're very lucky, you already know what you are good at already, right? So yeah, just take some time and you will know what you're good at, all right? Okay, so I like to work very closely with the parents. I believe that not only the teachers, the students, but the parents, we all work together. So then you'll be like it takes a village to raise a child, right? So we need everybody's help. Everybody will work together. Yeah. Okay, so now maybe Chalene can share more about herself.
Okay, so hi, my name is Teacher Lin. Okay, I teach math and science at BlueTree. Okay, these are some pictures that I've taken with students here over this year. And my teaching belief is that all children have their unique path of growth, because everyone is, they start at different points and they will also go through different things in life that will help them grow. And I aim to help them see their learning potential. Okay, and this belief of mine also comes from the quote by Dr. Reverend Feinstein. So he says that intelligence is not a static structure, but an open and dynamic system that can continue to develop throughout life. Yeah, so you always keep growing and learning. And as teachers, I think we are here to help you in that journey of growth.
Yeah. Okay, so now I'll share about our BlueTree signature technique. Okay, so some of you, maybe you already know what this is because you joined us, right? But some of you do not know. So what is this about? So at BlueTree, right, for math, we usually teach the students a special way to solve math questions, and then we call it the solve technique. Okay, so S is to search for clues. Okay, so basically when you read the math question, you realize that as you go upper primary, primary 5, primary 6, the questions get very long, right? It's no longer the primary 3 kind of question where the question is very short. So we always tell the students to, let's not read the entire question. We read the question sentence by sentence. So as you read, you start writing. So then y'all will always hear your teacher at BlueTree will say, read and write. Okay, so read and write, what does it mean? You read sentence by sentence. You can either draw a model or you draw a table. Okay, so for example, you draw a table. B has twice as many as A. So you'll be 3 units. You draw a very simple model, right? 3 units and 1 unit. Then you continue reading the question. Okay, so that's where you obtain evidence from the question. So for example, based on the model, we know that the total for A and B is 20. So we quickly write it down. 4 units is equals to 20. Then we continue doing the next step, which is to locate the key. So imagine, students, you are like a detective. You want to solve the math mystery, right? So you have to get the key to open the correct hole, the correct door, right? Cannot open the wrong door, right? So what's the key? Okay, so the key is to find out the 1 unit. You realize always when you do math question, we always find out what is 1 unit, right? So y'all will tell me, okay, 1 unit very easy, right? 20 divided by 4 is 5. Okay, 1 unit is 5. And then after that, some students will just stop there. Okay, we move on to the next question, right? Because the question is so long, before you get your 1 unit, probably you did many steps already. But don't forget the last step, very, very important. Okay, you want to solve the mystery, so you have to read the math question again. Is the question asking you to find for A? If the question is asking you to find for A, then yes, 5 is correct. But if they're asking you to find for B, then your answer will be 5 times 3, right? Because 3 units, right? If they ask you to find for the difference, then the answer will be 10. So you see, many students, they do not read the last the question again, and then after that they lose the last mark. So always use this solve technique to solve your math question. Then there will be lower chance of you making mistakes. All right? Okay, so now let's move on. So you will actually see that we actually teach us this tic-tac-toe approach when we solve questions at BlueTree. For example, quantity value question. These are all the different scenarios. So some schools actually calls it the start, change, end table. Some schools calls it the before, change, after. So they're actually the same. It's just different ways of naming it. Yeah, but at BlueTree, we call it the tic-tac-toe table. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so these are the PSLE topics, okay? So primary 4, primary 5, primary 6. So you can just look through, okay, what you have learned. Yeah, so for P5 now, we just finished teaching angles, okay, at BlueTree. Okay, so you can take a look at all these topics here. Okay, and okay, this is very interesting. Okay, so you can see these are actually your PSLE topics. So why is numbers, measurements, ratio, and percentage highlighted? Okay, so because it makes up approximately 65% of the PSLE paper. So you know, hey, actually that's a very huge percentage, right? 65%. Yeah. So that's why later I'll share more analysis of the PSLE paper that we have actually put down the different breakdown. Let me show you. Yeah, this slide. Okay, so 2022, these are actually the marks. The numbers here are the marks. So you can see I actually boxed it up for your whole numbers, measurements, ratio, and percentage. It's actually about huge percentage really. Can you see? You add up, it's 60 marks. Then for 2021 paper, it's 60 marks also. 2020 paper is 58 marks. So that's why sometimes we at BlueTree, we tell our students FRP. What is FRP? FRP is fractions, ratio, percentage. Okay, so it makes up about 60 to 65% of your PSLE paper. Okay, so that's why this is a very important, I would say, very important component. Okay, so yeah, this is the part that you take note of. Then if anyone here, if you take a look at the table, do you see another topic that also made a lot of marks? Anyone want to type in the chat? Any topic here? Take a look. Can you see geometry? Sorry, the animation. It should be geometry. Yeah, just geometry. So geometry is 23. Okay. Then for 2022, 2021 is 17. And then 2020 is 17. So you see the second highest weightage is actually your geometry. So by looking at all these numbers, right, then we will know which one is the one that holds a higher percentage for your PSLE paper. All right. Okay, so now ratio and percentage. I'm going to go through some questions. Then later, Teacher Lin will be going through some triangles questions. Okay, let's take a look at the first question. Okay, so a box contains some black and white buttons. So remember, read and write. Okay, so 60% of the total number of buttons were black. After removing 50% of the white buttons, what percentage of the buttons was white in the end? So you see, I actually highlighted the word, the sentence removing 50%. So I always tell my students, why do we draw this table? Some of them, when they first started learning start, change, end table or the de-facto table, right? They will ask me, teacher, how I know when to use this table, right? I'll say if you see a change in the question, sometimes it's removing, sometimes it's adding. Okay, so that's a change. So I actually highlighted that. Tell the students, oh, okay, let's draw a table first. So we draw the skeleton of the table out. Okay, since there's black and white buttons, then the header will be black and white. All right, so the next thing is when you see 60%, okay, we do not like to work with percentage. We like to make our life easier by changing 60% to a fraction. So 60% is 60 over 100, right? So when we simplify it, we will get 3/5. Okay, so I like to get the students to continue writing, because you read and write, right? So they start to write on the paper already, 60%, then they change it to 3/5. Okay, and then this 3/5, the 3 units here belongs to the black, because 60% were black. All right, and then 5 units is the total, because some students will get a little confused. Okay, they were taught that 3 units is black, 5 units is white, for example. Okay, so total, because here wrote total. So then now we can fill the values into the table. Black is 3, white is 2. How did I get 2? Anybody wants to type in the chat? Quick one. How did Teacher Shilin get 2? Why is white not 5? Why is white 2? Yeah. So anybody wants? Yes, correct. 5 minus 3 is 2. Okay, so yeah, then let's continue. So after removing 50% of the white buttons, right? So the white 2 units, 50% is half, right? Okay, so that's 1 unit. Is there any change for the black? You all realize there isn't any change, right? So that's why I wrote the concept here, one side unchanged. The black buttons remain unchanged. It didn't change, okay? So just simple calculation, 2 minus 1, you're left with 1 unit for the white, right? And yeah, very good. I saw some of you typing the answers. And then black, 3 minus nothing, so it's 3 in the end. Okay, so I think it's very simple to fill the numbers up, the values up in the table. Okay, not like you need. It's just very simple math. Okay, just 2 minus 1 is 1. So after that, let's read the question again. We have already wrote down all the information, right? What percentage of the buttons was white in the end? So again, I will remind the students, when you see the word percentage, okay, we always come up with a fraction first. So fraction has a numerator and a denominator, right? So what is the numerator? They're asking for white in the end, okay? So I'll write something like that, white over the total times 100%, right? Because percentage. So white, if you take a look at your table, in the end, white, you have 1 unit. Black is 3, so total is 4. 1 plus 3 is 4, right? And then times 100%. So yes, you are correct. 25% is your final answer. Yeah, so yeah, some of you said this is a very easy method, correct? So of course you can use other methods, okay? But I would say that this we are introducing start change end table or the tic-tac-toe table, so that's easier for students to see. Even the weaker students will have confidence when they are writing the values down, even though I cannot solve the question. But at least I can write something, right? I'll not just stare at the question and I cannot write anything down. Yeah, okay? So are you okay with the first question? This is just a very simple introduction of the tic-tac-toe table or the start change end table in case you have not seen this table before. Okay, then later the next 2 questions will be a little bit more advanced, but I will still be going through this with you, okay? Okay, let's move on to the next question. Okay, so the next one, same thing again, okay? So let's read the question. There were red and blue stickers in the back. After the percentage of red stickers increased by 40% and the blue decreased by 30%. So again, how do I know that I have to draw the table, right? Do you see increase and then you see decrease? So there's a change involved again. So okay, students will start drawing the outline of the table first. Okay, and since there are red and blue stickers, then the header will be red and blue. All right. So remember earlier I said I do not like to work with percentage. So I will change the percentage to a fraction. All right. So 40%, okay, just simplify it, you get 2/5. And then 30%, simplify it, you get 3/10. All right. Okay, and then there was an equal number of red and blue left in the end. So I wrote the concept down, equal ending, because whatever that's left in the end is the same. All right. So since we know that the rate increased by 40%, which is 2/5, you know that at first you actually have 5 units of the rate because the denominator earlier I said is the total, right? Okay, and since you increase by 2, I'll write plus 2R. R represents rate. Okay, so 5R plus 2R, I think everybody knows that 7R, okay? So now let's look at the blue now. The blue decreased by 3/10. So again, the 10 represents the denominator, which is the total. So 10B. Okay, and then be very careful. It's no longer plus. Some students will just write plus. Okay, decrease. I will ask my students to highlight that decrease. Okay, so decrease means minus. So minus 3B. So 7B, right? Then you check. There was an equal number of red and blue left in the end. You take a look. Hey, is it the same? Are they equal? They have to be equal, right? Okay, so now, and they have a total of 1400. Okay, so I put it in. The total is 1400. That's the reason why I actually have an extra column here is total. Because some questions, they will tell you there's a difference of 1400. Then it will not be total, it will be difference. So it depends on the question. Not every question is total. So I always tell my students, you read the question. As you read, you start writing. Okay, don't assume that every question is total. All right? Okay, so since there's an equal number of red and blue left in the end, right? If there's 1,400, it's equal number, which means each red and blue, they're supposed to have 700 each, right? Stickers. Okay, so that's why I took 1,004 divided by 2. Okay, so this means that the 7 red here is actually equals to 700, and the 7 blue here is also equals to 700. Are you all okay so far? All right. Okay, so now let's continue. So I wrote 7B is 700. So I'm sure you can find what is 1B, right? It's like your unit, 7 units is 700. What is 1 unit? Then you will say, oh, 700 divided by 7, right? So that's your key to solve the mystery, okay? So the question is asking you, find the number of blue that were removed. So if you take a look at the table, remove means the change, right? You see I wrote a minus 3B here. So that's why the answer is 3B, which is 100 times 3. And that will give you 300. So that's your final answer. Okay? So anyone wants to take a picture of this? If you don't have time to copy, you can just quickly take a picture of these solutions. Okay? So is this question okay? Are you all right? Okay, then I'll move on to the next question really, okay? Okay, so the next one, let's take a look at this question, okay? You realize that, hey, how come the table have changed, okay? It's no longer start, change, and instead we wrote there quantity, value, and total. Okay, let's read the question first. So at a fun fair, each boy is given 3 coupons and each girl is given 4 coupons. Okay, so each accompanying adult receives 2 coupons. So 40% of the people at the fun fair were adults, and the remaining group of people are divided into boys and girls in the ratio of 5:7. So given that only 1,180 coupons are given away, how many children are there altogether? Okay, so you realize, this question a bit different. There's no change, right? You don't see any change. So that's why I didn't draw start, change, end. However, we see there's boys, girls, and adults. Okay, so the title is boy, girl, adult. Okay, and they receive coupons. And there's the number of people in the story. So you see, I actually highlighted the coupons and this is the people. So the coupons here is actually the things that was given out, correct? They received 3, 4, and 2. And the people is actually the quantity, the number of people in the fun fair. There's adults, boys, and girls. So that's why it's quantity, number of people, value. Each of them received 3, 4, and 2, and the total. So let's fill in the values first. So since each boy received 3, so I'll put 3 for the value, 3 each. Girl is 4 each, and adult is 2 each, okay? And since 40% were adults, we're going to change the 40% to a fraction, right? So let's change it, it'll be 2/5. Okay, so 2 units is the adult, 5 units is the total. So I'm going to let's look at the ratio here. 2 units, the one in green, is the adults, right? And since the total is 5, 2 minus 3, you have 3 children. Okay, this is the first ratio. And the second ratio, the question actually gave us that the number of boys to girls is 5:7. So if you were to add them up, boys and girls, they're actually children, right? So 5 plus 7, you get 12. So if you were to look at the first and the second ratio, you will realize that they're different. Both of them are children, but why the first ratio is 3 and the second ratio is 12? Anybody knows, want to type in the chat, what do you all think I should do to make the ratio the same? Anyone? Yes, very good. Times 4. Thank you. Those who have sent it to me. Okay. So times 4, we have to make the children 12, right? So let's change the ratio with times 4. So children became 12 and adults is 8. Okay, so everything is fair already. We can compare already, right? So now I'm going to fill all these values into the table. This is the quantity, under the quantity, number of people. Okay. So 5 units for the boys here, 7 units for the girls, and 8 units for the adults. All right. So this is the part where students will make mistake. They've forgotten to find the total. Okay, they will assume that 5, 7, 8, that's all. Okay, but the total number of coupons, 5 units of boys, and each of them, the keyword here is each, receive 3 each. So the total will be 5 times 3, right? Okay, so that's why it's quantity times value. Can you see the concept here? Quantity times value. Okay, so 5 times 3 is 15 units, 7 times 4 is 28 units, and 8 times 2 is 16 units. All right, and let's read the question. They say that only 1,180 coupons are given away. So the total number of units now, 15 plus 28 plus 16 units, gives you 59 units. That's one set total. Okay, and because we do not know what units is, right? But I know that altogether, you have 1,180 coupons being given away. So that's where set approach comes in. We are trying to find out how many sets are there. How many sets of 59 units do you have in 1,180? So you divide 1,180, divide by 59. So I always tell my students to write 20 sets. Don't just write 20. Because 20 can be 20 coupons, 20 girls, 20 boys. It's confusing, right? So these are labels. It's good to write labels down as you're solving the math question. It's not just about solving. Because if the question is so long, right, parents, can you see that the question is so long, so many steps? If you just write 20, when your child have reached 20, they're actually very tired already. They do not know what is 20. They just know they need to find 20. But it will help them a lot when they write sets, just 20 sets. Okay? So if there are 20 sets, let's read the math question again. How many children are there altogether? So we go back to our table, okay? Children. Children will be 12, right? The ratio is 12. So all you have to do is to take 20 sets, multiply by 12. And your answer is 240. Okay. So if I were to change the question, I will say, hey, how many adults are there? So what do you think the answer is? You want to try to type in the chat. You have 20 sets. And how many adults are there? Anybody?
Yeah, somebody got it in the question answer.
Oh, have I? Okay, very good. Yeah, correct. Yeah. Okay, so you see, once you have found the number of sets, I always tell my students, that's like finding your 1 unit is the same thing. It's the key to solve the question. Okay, if they ask you for adults, you can find. If they ask you for the number of coupons that the boys have, you can also do it, right? Okay, you just have to multiply by the correct number. Okay, so it's very important to know what are the values that you're finding. What is that 20? What's that 59? So always remember to write your labels. Okay, 1 set total, number of sets. Okay, so this one I'll say is the harder question, quantity times value and set approach. Okay, so you can take a picture of this so that you can revise and try the questions again. Okay, or it's okay, then I'll move on to the next slide. Okay, so this one I'll pass it to teacher Lin. Okay.
Okay, everyone. Okay, so now we're going to do challenging area of triangles. But before that, we actually need to revise a little bit. So the area of a square or rectangle, they have the same formula. Okay, next. Can we click next? Okay, so it's length times breadth, or you can also say it's base times height. Same idea, right? The key thing is that between a square and a rectangle, a square, all the 4 sides are the same. Yeah, somebody mentioned length times breadth, correct? Okay, so you can also say it's base times height. Now, for an area of triangle, it's half times base times height. Now, this is why it's half times base times height. So you actually can remember that a triangle is usually half of a rectangle or a square, depending on the size of the triangle. Even for, can you see the last triangle, that slanted triangle? It's actually half of a parallelogram. And a parallelogram is also known as a slanted rectangle. And the area of how you can find the area of a rectangle is base times height. So that's how you find that. Okay, and specifically for this last triangle, yeah, I'm going to use a mouse to annotate. Yeah, can you see this mouse here? Yeah, I think y'all can. Okay, so this mouse, it shows that when you look at this kind of triangle, you always look for the height as from the base to the highest point of the triangle. It has to be perpendicular. Okay, a lot of students actually mix it up because they think that the height should be one of the sides, but that's not correct. Okay, so always look for the height perpendicular to the base. So the highest point of the triangle to the base. So it has to be 90 degrees. Okay, now with this is actually all you need to know to solve challenging questions related to area of triangle. Okay, so now we'll look at some questions and we'll apply this. Okay, so first question. Yeah, so in this figure below, there are 2 squares of different sizes joined together. Okay, and they want us to find the area of triangle ACE. So you can see this area of triangle here. Okay, and you can see for the bigger square, one side is 17 cm. The smaller square, the one side is 13 cm. Okay, so the tricky thing about this question is that we're not given exactly the base of the triangle or even the height of it. Okay, we're only given how much are the sides of the square around it. So to solve this question, what you can do is actually look for the area of the triangles around it. So for example here, yeah, I've labeled these 3 triangles as triangle X, triangle Y, and triangle Z. So all the unshaded areas, we actually find the area of these triangles to be able to find the area of the shaded triangle ACE. Okay, so first, let's look at finding the area of triangle X. Okay, so area of triangle X is half times 30. Okay, why 30? Because we add 17 plus 13. Okay, that gives us 30 cm. All right, and then the height of it is 17. Okay, okay, so there's a slight mistake there. It's 30 times 17. Okay, so the answer is 195. Yeah, let me just double check that. Times 30 times 17. Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, so I must have multiplied it a little off. Okay, so the answer for that is 255. Okay, so this is the area of that triangle. Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, and then So we find that. Then the next one that we find is area of triangle Y. Yeah. Okay. Then to find area of triangle Y, we take half times 4 times 17. Okay. Why 4 as the base? Because we take 17 cm minus 13 cm. Can you see at that side there? I wrote it down. So 17 minus 13 is 4 cm. So that's the base. And the height is 17 cm. That is the length of AB. And for that, you will get 34 cm squared. Okay, so that's triangle Y. Now, finally, triangle Z. So area of triangle Z equals to half times 13 times 13. Why? Because that is the length of the two sides of the smaller square. Okay, so half times 13 times 13, you get 84.5 cm squared. So to find the whole area, you take the area of the two squares minus the area of the three triangles. Okay, then let me just recalculate that again. Okay, 17 times 17 plus 13 times 13 minus 255 minus 84.5. Okay, so the answer is 84.5. Yeah, so this is actually quite easy. Once you can identify that you need to find the area of the triangles around it. Yeah. If not, students might be stuck with trying to figure out what's the base, what's the height of that shaded triangle. Okay, so if anybody wants to take picture, you can take picture of it now. Okay, I give you some time. Okay, if you're done, okay, let's move on to the next challenging question. Okay, so in this figure below, it actually shows a rectangle ABCD and triangle DFC. Okay, the area of rectangle ABCD is 98 cm squared. So it's the whole rectangle, okay, ABCD. Then the unshaded part of the rectangle is 32 cm squared. Okay, ABF and DEF are straight lines. What is the area of the shaded part? CEF. Okay, so for triangle questions, it's always very key to really look at the alphabets to figure out what are the areas that are being mentioned. Okay, so now we will take one step at a time and look at the question. Okay, so the first clue that we are given when we search for clues in this question is we are told that the area of the rectangle is 98 cm squared. So that's the green box that I've highlighted, this whole rectangle. Now, the next thing is that the unshaded part of the rectangle is 32 cm squared. So that is the rest of the rectangle, that triangle there. So it's DEC actually. Okay, now they want us to find what is the area of triangle ECF. Okay, to do that, the first thing that we need to do is actually find what is the area of triangle D, C, and F. Okay, to find CF. So the first thing that we see is actually the base and the height of DFC is the same as the base and the height of rectangle ABCD. Okay, so I've put it down at the side here. So area of triangle DCF is half times base DC times height AD. And we know that base times height is also the same as area of rectangle ABCD. So therefore, you don't actually need to know what's actually the base and the height, so the actual number, but you can just take half times 98 cm squared and you'll get 49 cm squared. Okay, somebody asked, is it possible to take screenshots of the first 3 questions with answers? Yes, you can. Okay, now we have found out how to get the area of triangle DFC. Okay, so can we now find how to get the area of triangle CEF? Okay, so we do that by taking the area of DCF minus the area of DCE, which we were already given just now, which is 32 cm squared. So we take 49 minus 32, and you get 17. Okay, you can take some time to have a look at this. And then after that, take a picture of this as well. Any questions here? Yeah, okay, yes, the lesson will be recorded. Okay, now let's move on to the next question. Okay, this next question is quite tricky. But once you realize how it's done, you will be very surprised. Okay, so this figure below is not drawn to scale. It shows a square and a right angle triangle. Okay, now find the area of the shaded part. So we are told that this is a right angle triangle. We are given the length of one side, okay, like 4 cm, 10 cm. Then for the other side, we're given only the side of the square is 3 cm. Yeah, and then that's all the information we're given. Okay, so why this is difficult is because we don't have enough information to find out maybe even the area of one triangle. Because we can't figure out what is the actual base and what's the actual height of it. Okay, maybe for the bigger triangle, we can figure out that the height of it is 3 cm, but we don't know what the base is. And for the smaller triangle, we only know that the base is 3 cm. We don't even know what the height is. Yeah. So for this question, this like stumped people the first time when they see it. Okay, but the solution is actually quite simple. Okay, so for this, the first thing that you need to see is that, okay, using the concept of angles on the line, you can see that these two angles that I've highlighted here, the sum of these two is actually 90 degrees, right? Because there is a 90-degree angle there. Therefore, the sum of the other two angles would be 90 degrees. Yes? Okay, the next thing that we can see is that all these sides will be 3 cm, 3 cm. Why? Because it's a square. So we know all four sides of a square are the same length. Okay, with that information, we can actually shift the smaller square down, okay, because both of them are 3 cm, 3 cm, right? So we can shift it down. Okay, and so you can see the 4 cm side goes down and the 10 cm side is there. Okay, and you know that this is definitely going to be 90 degrees because just now I've already said that the sum of the two angles is 90 degrees. Okay, with this information now, can you tell me what would be the area of the shaded part before we show the answer? So you guys can type in the answer in the chat or in the question and answer. Go ahead. Okay, yes, 20. Yes, some people have put in 20, 20. Yeah, correct. Great. Oh, okay, I typed it in wrongly here. Sorry, Shani. Can we just change that? It's 20. Yeah, it's 20. Thank you. Yeah. So you guys are right because half times 4 times 10 is 20. Okay? So the tricky part about this question is really about how you know that you need to shift the smaller triangle on top down to the bigger triangle and create that 4 cm as the base and 10 cm as the height, or either one because it's a right angle triangle. Okay? Yeah. So this is another tricky kind of question. Okay, and then with this, we're actually done with challenging questions for area of triangle. Next, we want to show about math heuristics. Okay, so the heuristics for word problems, there are all kinds of heuristics that we do cover at BlueTree and also in your curriculum in school. And you will see that the difficulty increases from P3 to P6. Okay, so for example, one tick means easy, right? And then from primary 6 onwards, there are like 4 ticks, which means it gets really hard. So for example, fractions, ratios, decimals, percentages, it's really easy in primary 3. But once you come to P6 and even P5, like some of the questions that we went through earlier, you can see how the combination of that becomes more tricky. Yeah. So this is one type of heuristics. Can skip to the next page. Okay, yeah, so these are other heuristics that are also tested. Things like set approach or quantity times value. Yeah, so this is for you all to take note of. Yeah, that's why at BlueTree, it's helpful for students to start earlier, when they are like P3, P4, to already start coming to practice these things, because we do cover all these heuristics in class. And then as they go on from year to year, they will actually find that, hey, they have actually covered this before, and it's just an add-on. So it's a slightly harder version of what they've learned the year before. Yeah, so that when they come to like primary 6, they're not like stunned by the difficulty that they face in school.
Yeah, so just to add on, like for example, I did the set approach and the quantity times value question earlier, right? The last question. So that is actually quite a challenging question. So I actually have P3 students, and then we actually give them set approach as well. Yeah, so they do set approach in primary 3. So it's like what teacher Lin said, is an add-on. So primary 3 set approach is easy, and then they move on P4 a little bit harder, and then P5, then that's where it gets harder and harder. So it's good to start early, so that they will build up their foundation for math. Yeah, okay. Okay, so this is the AL system. I think you're all very familiar with this already. Okay, so I just want to zoom into AL6. Okay, so why AL6, right? I think when I show my students this, they because the mark range is the widest here. Yeah, that's correct. Okay, so why is it so important to know the AL system? Because if you notice that AL, the rest of the ALs is just like 4 marks, right? But for AL6, it's a huge jump. So it's good to know where you are at and when is it. So for example, now let's say I give an example, the P6, my P6 students, right? Let's say this week is their PSLE. Okay, so if they are like scoring like maybe 50 now, like few more days to their paper, right? Then I would say maybe you want to focus on other subjects, because a few days you need to jump to the next AL, you need to be like 65. Yeah, if you're 50, then I think it's a little bit hard. Yeah, so but if you're in P5, then there's still time to like, AL4, AL3 and all. So you must know the AL system very well. Yeah, so this is important, the AL6, just to take note of that. Okay. So this is actually our BlueTree calendar. So now we are in September. So that's where we are having all our last lab revision. We are having our webinars to help the students with the end of year exams. Okay. And then after they're done with their EOY exams, the end of year exams, then we will have our Head Start program. So at BlueTree, we actually start the Head Start program, whereby if you're in primary 3, you'll be learning primary 4 stuff. So it's like a head start for the next year. So P4, you learn P5, P5, you learn P6. Yeah, so I think this is very good, because you get to start in advance. Like before you even go to school, right, you already learn a few topics already. So I think this is a very good thing to have, yeah, to start early, right? Yeah. Okay, so these are our different programs at BlueTree. Okay, our regular classes. Okay, every week we have our PSLE prep class. Okay, we have holiday programs. Our holiday program is coming up, our October holiday program. Later I'll be sharing more about it. Okay, and we have our webinars, like such webinars. Okay, our website, we also have free learning resources. Okay, where you can actually go to our website. There's science and math blogs there where you can read. Okay, we have notes, science, math actually give out free notes. You can just join us in our emailer, and then they will send it to you. Okay, and then we also have short courses like your PSLE master class. Okay, so just share more about what is the holiday program about. So every holidays we will have holiday program. So what is this holiday program all about? Okay, so it's actually a consolidation of all the very important topics. Okay, so for example, for math, for the holiday program, usually it's quite intensive. I'll say students who have joined us for holiday program find, wow, a lot of things, we need to cover a lot of things, because we have to consolidate all the commonly tested exam questions, okay, and the different heuristics, like just now we shared all the different heuristics, right? Okay, and I'll say it's very useful to revise the worksheet after that. So after a long lesson, right, then you'll be like, wow, I'm so tired, I don't do any more math, right? It's okay, because the lesson recording will be given to you. Okay, let's say I don't understand this particular question, you can watch the lesson recording again. So that's where I always tell my students, when you attend be it the physical class or the online class, after you're done, you have a few days of break, 1 week break, right? Holiday, right? 1 month break. Use the time to revise the questions again. Math is about practicing. So it's not like one shot, you do many questions and then that's it. It's about doing questions every day. So every day do a few questions, you practice. The more you practice, the better you'll be at it. You'll be so familiar with it. When you look at the question, you will know, oh, I need to use this method. and I need to solve it and so on. So come and join us for our holiday program. I think it's a very beneficial program for your child to revise on all their concepts. Yeah. Okay, so our holiday program is from sorry, this one is not, sorry, this is the wrong one. This one, 16th to 18th of October. Yeah. So you can actually drop us an email, or you can go to our website, yeah, to sign up. Okay. So next week, we are, like what I said, we'll be having another webinar revision. Okay. So it will be different. The topics that we are covering is different. Okay. The science one is on a Tuesday, and the math one is on a Thursday. All right. So yeah, so do join us. This one is another program, like the webinar style, which like what we have just done is another one. Okay. And then the next one will be the masterclass. So what is this? So this is actually the following week. So 12th October, 13th October. Okay, so because in webinar is 1 hour, we can't really cover every single topics. We try to cover the important ones, like we pick up the fractions, ratio, percentage, and angles, because these are the two that makes up the highest percentage of the PSLE paper, right? Okay, but I can't cover everything. It's a short session. So we actually have this masterclass, and this masterclass is very beneficial for the P6s. Yeah, so now we bring it to the P5. So for the math, we'll be covering the essential concepts, like what I said, fractions, ratio, percentage. It makes up about 60% of your PSLE paper. Okay, for science, these are the topics that we'll be covering. Okay, and plant reproduction, water states, heat and temperature, electrical systems, respiratory and circulatory system. Okay, so these are all online. It's like webinar style, just like what we are doing now. Okay, it's a webinar, but it's 1.5 hours. So you have your worksheets with you, you will have the content, then the teacher will be teaching. It's like a lesson, just that it's an online webinar style. So whatever we are doing now is the same, just that you will have worksheets with you. Yeah, so it's a 1.5 hours lesson. Okay, one subject is at 85.60. If you sign up for 2, then there's a 21.60 off. So I think it's a very beneficial session. It's like 1.5 hours, 3 hours for $150. Yeah, so you will learn a lot. You have a lot of tips given to you by the teachers. Okay, for math, it's about the soft technique. For our science, it's about the ABC technique. So we will share with you how to tackle those exam questions, because end of year exam is coming, and not only end of year, PSLE is also coming. It's about 1 year's time. Yeah, so we have to start preparing already. Yeah, so it's a lot cheaper than any home tuition, right? Because it's 150 for 3 hours. Yeah, a private tutor maybe $60 per hour. Yeah, so it's a very and you do it at the comfort of your home. 7:30, you can do it at home. Okay, so yeah, it's just like webinars now, like what we are doing now. Okay, so do join us. Okay, if you are available, I'll be teaching the math session. Yeah. So these are some of very positive testimonials from parents who have joined us, okay, for the masterclass or for our regular lesson. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so let's work hard for end of year exams, and of course next year PSLE. Okay, so do join us on our social media platforms. Okay, we have our Facebook, Instagram, Telegram group, and this is very useful, I'll say. We have our Facebook discussion group. Okay, we have the math and the science group for both primary and secondary. Okay, so what is this discussion group about? So basically, you can actually post questions. Now PSLE soon, right? If you go and take a look at the math discussion group, many questions there. Parents ask questions, okay, students ask questions, okay, and then yeah, so you can actually post questions there. Teachers will reply. Sometimes parents even reply. Sometimes students reply. Okay, some students do the questions in the discussion group as a revision. So I'll say it's a very, very nice and enriching group. So do join us. Okay. So that's all. Okay. I hope you all have learned something from today's lesson. Okay, then we will see you all next week. Yeah, for the webinar session. Okay, anybody needs me to go back to the previous question? I think just now somebody said. You said which one? The first 3 questions, is it? This one?
Yeah, we asked about the first 3 questions.
Yeah, then we just wait for a while, then after that, move on to the next one. Okay, I move on to the next question. So remember, whenever you see percentage, remember to always change it to a fraction. It'll be easier. Oops. Yeah. Okay, I move on to the last one. Okay, and the last slide, sure. Hold on for a while. Okay, the one with the discussion groups, right? Okay, is there any questions that you all want us to go back to, that you all want to take a picture?
Somebody wants to share the answer for triangle question.
Which triangle question? Which one?
Not sure. They didn't mention.
Is it this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, let me just message the person to check.
Okay, I hope you all have learned something today. Okay. Okay, the
Oh,
other.
she also wants the other two.
Okay, just take a picture. Okay, and then the last one.
Oh, we can share the video recording.
Yeah, it will be shared.
Oh, to everyone who signed up today.
Yeah. Even those who didn't sign up, but they joined the emailer, they will receive as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because some of them have exams tomorrow. So my students say they cannot make it. Okay, most welcome.
Welcome.
Okay, so thank you so much for joining us today, both parents and students. Okay, so do join us next week for more for math and science, for both. Okay, have a good rest. Okay,
Yeah.
welcome.
Take care. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, thank you for joining us.
Bye.
Bye bye.